Today we're going to be talking about the Day of the Tentacle, the remastered version. At first I thought this was a kids game just because of the graphics and just how the trailer kind of looked. I didn't know this game was a point and click game. So I want to start off with the game's commentary. This ranges from great storytelling to the humor that's used in the game. It's very well done. The writers created wonky characters and, I would say reasonable character development. You kind of get immersed in the characters' lives and the whole story.
To be sure you weren't one of those humanist sympathizers. What with this ridiculous human show going on here, there's humophiles everywhere.
The locations and setting, they were good. You were kind of confined to like 3 time zones, but it provided a colorful setting and overall wasn't too bad, especially with the cutscenes. The cutscenes were very interesting. I was ready to beat the game more so for the cutscenes than the actual game. So the action element of this game was actually heavily focused on puzzles, and this ranges from being extremely hard to easy. The puzzles were sometimes not logical, so I had to use some guides to kind of move along the game. And that kind of goes into my next point with the pacing of the game. To me, the pacing was very long if I didn't use a guide, which was fine because it was still interesting finding the answers to the puzzles with the guide. An interesting point of the storyline is that you can either affect the future, the past, or the present with using characters as Hoagie, Bernard, and Laverne to help Dr. Fred. So this was very interesting just for the fact of you'll do a puzzle in the future and it'll affect the past or the present. Understanding that this is an older game and everything got remastered, the soundtrack also didn't change, which was a little bit bland, but it kind of kept everything going. So I wasn't a huge fan of the soundtrack or the music. Another issue that I had with the game was the controls and the interface of the game. It wasn't really user friendly because, again, I'm used to controllers, so I'm not going to hold it against it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of that. For replayability purposes, I don't think this game is very replayable unless you want to do 2 things. One, play it at a later time, like 10 years later or 5 years later, and or you're trying to get all the achievements within the game. So that was kind of a bummer about this because I thought there was going to be different options and different endings towards the game. This game kind of reminds me of Animaniacs, the TV show with all the characters and crazy storylines. So if you're into that, then you should definitely seek out this game, but remember that it's click and point.
I'll miss his laugh.
Due to the storyline and the interesting characters that this game provided, I'm going to give the Day of the Tentacle 3 out of 5 stars.